Tens of thousands of Australian families will buy an SUV this year, and most of them will spend more time choosing a color than researching which ones fall apart. Owner surveys, government recall databases, and reliability studies covering hundreds of thousands of vehicles reveal that several of the most heavily marketed SUVs in this country are hiding problems their dealers would prefer you never found. 7 SUVs ranked 3 to walk away from, 4 worth every dollar, starting with the one doing the most damage to Australian wallets right now. Number 7. The Jeep Grand Cherokee. There's a version of this vehicle that exists in advertising, commanding, luxurious, the kind of large SUV that makes the school pickup feel like an expedition. And then there's the version that exists in real data. The 2024 Grand Cherokee accumulated 17 recalls from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. Consumer Reports, drawing on surveys from 380,000 vehicle owners, rated it below average for reliability for its model year. The single largest complaint category is the electrical system. 88 separate owner reports in one model year, covering faults from instrument cluster failures to phantom warning lights that appear without explanation. That matters in Australia for a specific reason. When a complex American electrical architecture fails in a market dominated by Japanese brand workshops, diagnosis takes longer, parts take longer to arrive, and the bill reflects both. The 4xe plug-in hybrid variant carries a 2025 recall covering 2023 through 2025 models for engine debris that can cause sudden loss of drive power and, in some cases, an engine compartment fire. For buyers spending between $65,000 and $90,000 on a family SUV, a vehicle that scores below average on reliability while costing above average to fix produces exactly one outcome: regret. And if paying a premium for an unreliable SUV sounds familiar, the next entry takes that formula and adds safety systems into the equation. Number 6. The Volkswagen Tiguan. The Tiguan is well-designed, premium-feeling, and one of the most popular midsize SUVs in Australia. The problem isn't what it delivers when everything works. The problem is how often it doesn't. Between October 2025 and April 2026, Volkswagen Australia issued 3 separate recalls on 2024 through 2025 Tiguan models. The first covered 1,482 vehicles for a software fault that may silently deactivate emergency assist and travel assist safety systems designed to hold the vehicle when the driver isn't responding without triggering any warning on the instrument cluster. The second and third recalls arrived within weeks of each other in April 2026, affecting over 11,000 Tiguans, Golfs, and Teyrans combined. The cause: a software issue that could make the electric power steering temporarily inoperable under certain driving conditions. Volkswagen's own recall notice described the risk as potential serious injury or death. 3 recalls in 7 months, 2 of them involving systems designed to keep you and your family safe. Parts pricing for a European SUV in Australia's Japanese brand aftermarket adds financial pain on top. The Tiguan is a genuinely appealing vehicle in a test drive. In ownership, the software complexity that makes it feel sophisticated has become its greatest liability. But if those 2 entries gave you pause, the third involves something buyers tend to miss entirely because the problem doesn't reveal itself until after the paperwork is signed and the kilometers are on the clock. Number 5. The Kia Sorento. Before its weaknesses are laid out, this is a well-packaged, generous, 7-seat SUV, and Kia's improvement over the past decade has been real. But Consumer Reports' 2025 survey rates the Sorento below average for reliability in its model year. That's backed by 8 NHTSA recalls and 72 owner complaints, with powertrain problems the most serious cluster. One recall stands out. Connecting rod bolts in the engine may have been improperly tightened during manufacturing, which can cause sudden and complete loss of drive power. Dealers replace the sub-engine assembly under warranty, but the anxiety of wondering whether your SUV will stop moving on the Hume Highway is not covered in any recall notice. The 2025 model also received a recall, where a software error can simultaneously cut the low-beam headlights and taillights. In Australia, 5,978. Sorento examples from 2023 through 2024 were recalled for a defect affecting turn indicators and daytime running lights. And a 2021 through 2023 HVAC wiring harness fault created a fire risk requiring immediate remedy. Each recall in isolation is manageable. Together, they describe a vehicle whose electronics are still catching up to the ambition of the design. For 2025 used buyers, check the full recall history before committing $1. Now, after 3 entries built on recalls, powertrain anxiety, and systems that switch themselves off without warning, the story changes. Number 4. The Mazda CX-5. The prior generation CX-5, running from 2012 through 2025, achieved something rare in the modern automotive industry. An average reliability score of 81 out of 100 across all model years, peaking at 87 out of 100 in its strongest years. Australian mechanics have a specific term for its Skyactiv petrol engines: stubbornly mechanical. What they mean is that these engines behave the way engines used to. They respond to good oil and regular servicing with longevity that rivals Japanese benchmarks from the 1990s. Owners regularly drive 2.0-litre and 2.5-litre CX-5 petrol models past 250,000 and 300,000 kilometres without major intervention. The 2026 CX-5 is a full redesign, though Mazda has carried over its proven 2.5-litre Skyactiv G engine rather than introducing a new architecture. First-year models of any redesign carry inherent risk, and early data predicts the 2026 at around 73 out of 100 reasonable but unproven. Buyers prioritizing maximum reliability should target low-kilometre 2023 through 2024 models from the previous generation. One genuine concern with the 2026. Mazda has moved nearly every control into the touchscreen, replacing the physical buttons and knobs that made the old CX-5's interior one of the most intuitive in the segment. Software-heavy interfaces are exactly where problems surface first in new generation vehicles. Give the 2026 12 to 18 months of real-world data before committing. The brand has earned that patience. Number 3. The Subaru Forester. In 2025 alone, Australians purchased over 15,000 Forester models. Families who research purchases and return to the same brand across multiple ownership cycles are expressing something marketing cannot manufacture: genuine satisfaction over time. The Forester's Boxer engine is the foundation of that loyalty. A horizontally opposed 4-cylinder sits lower in the chassis than a conventional upright engine, lower center of gravity, better inherent stability, and a mechanical package mechanics describe as straightforward to service and difficult to catastrophically damage. Subaru's national service network is smaller than Toyota's, which matters for regional buyers. But for metropolitan and suburban families, coverage is adequate. The 2025 Forester Hybrid uses Toyota co-developed technology and returns real-world fuel consumption around 6.9 to 7.0 litres per 100 kilometres in. Long-term testing competitive, though short of the RAV4 hybrid's figures. Symmetric all-wheel drive is standard across the range, a meaningful advantage for alpine driving and unsealed roads. Consumer Reports predicts the 2026 Forester at around average reliability, lower than the previous naturally aspirated generation, reflecting the early-stage nature of the new hybrid system rather than any fundamental mechanical weakness. For a family that drives to the snow, crosses paddocks, or needs a vehicle that absorbs Australian conditions without drama, the Forester delivers. Number 2. The Honda CR-V Hybrid. There's a pattern in CR-V owner testimonials that you don't find in many other segments. Owners talk about kilometers the way other brands talk about years. Not, "I've had it 6 years, but we're at 270,000 kilometers, and it hasn't missed a service." That's the language of someone who stopped worrying about their vehicle. Honda's engineering precision, an ethos built through decades of Civic and Accord development, runs through the CR-V's hybrid drivetrain in a way that sets it apart from manufacturers who assembled hybrid systems more recently. The CR-V's two-motor system avoids a conventional automatic transmission entirely. Electric motors handle low-speed drive. The petrol engine handles highway cruising and generator duty. Fewer mechanical interfaces means fewer failure points. Annual repair cost data from the United States, a comparable market, places the CR-V below the compact SUV average, typically around $400 per year. In unscheduled work, against a segment average closer to $500. Consumer Reports rates the CR-V above average for reliability across multiple recent model years. For Sydney and Melbourne families in stop-start traffic, the hybrid's near-silent, low-speed electric operation is a daily quality-of-life improvement that only reveals itself through ownership. The CR-V doesn't win comparison tests through sheer capability or interior theater. What it does, consistently, is work. And at 200,000 kilometers, that's worth more than any brochure. And then, finally, the vehicle that sits at the intersection of all of it. Number 1. The Toyota RAV4 Hybrid. More than 51,000 Australians bought a RAV4 last year. Not the best-selling vehicle overall, the Ford Ranger held that title, but the best-selling SUV in the country, and the most popular vehicle among private buyers, by a commanding margin. That dominance is either brilliant marketing or 30 years of earned reputation. In the RAV4's case, it's the second one. The 2026 RAV4 is now hybrid only in Australia, from $45,990. Toyota's 2.5-litre hybrid system claims 4.5 litres per 100 kilometres, and real-world testing consistently returns numbers with a 5 in front of them on AWD variants. In a country where fuel costs keep climbing, that's not marginal. It's thousands of dollars over a 7-year ownership cycle. The reliability numbers are specific. RAV4 owners report 0.7 unscheduled repair visits per year against a segment average of 1.0. Annual repair costs sit around $367 against the class average of $473. Resale. RAV4 models retain 65 to 75% of original value after 5 years, the strongest figure in the segment by a meaningful margin, and one that makes the next purchase substantially easier. Toyota's national service network covers metropolitan and regional Australia more completely than almost any competitor. For buyers in Broken Hill, Townsville, or Kalgoorlie, that network isn't a minor footnote, it's the difference between a vehicle that's practical and one that's merely theoretical. The RAV4's weaknesses deserve honesty. It won't match the Tiguan for interior sophistication. It doesn't offer the CR-V's silky low-speed electric drive. And the 2026 model launched without a full 5-star ANCAP rating, unusual for Toyota, and something that may affect long-term resale if unresolved. But for Australians planning 7 to 10 years of ownership, high annual kilometres, and a machine that works in a Cairns wet season as reliably as a Melbourne winter, the RAV4 Hybrid is the closest thing to a guaranteed answer in this segment. Across all 7, one truth holds. Reliability in Australia's SUV market isn't decided by the badge, the cabin tech, or 40 minutes behind the wheel. It's decided by what a mechanic finds, or doesn't find, at 150,000 kilometers, by whether the software update at 40,000 kilometers was the last one, or the first of many, by whether the recall notice in your inbox covers a minor adjustment or a system designed to keep your family safe that switched itself off without telling anyone. The buyers who research that before signing are the ones spending their weekends exactly where they planned. In 2026, that information has never been easier to find. And now you have it.